Hi, once again we have Kathy Morton from RVMS. Hi, Kathy. Nice to speak
Hi,
to you again.
Kevin. You too.
Hi there. So last time we spoke, we was talking about revenue management and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we have Wineridge open here. Would you like to tell us how you manage revenue and optimize and to try and get the most out of reservations from the
Yeah.
resorts at Wineridge?
So at our the resorts that we have on the West Coast, which are a snowbird pattern, which basically means we're busy, really busy in the winter months, and have arrivals. If you actually click back to February, you'll see where it's a little more full than it is right now. But we have not February, maybe March for them actually. They have folks who come in, every day here at Indian Waters as well, and at Casa Grande, where the turnover is an everyday turnover rather than, people coming in just every weekend being full, or it's full all the time every day. And so what we learned was that it made the most sense for us to utilize the system and utilize the grid optimization to get the most out of every site we have. And actually, if you want to jump over to 98307 in February of 2007, you'll see more where it's
98307?
98307. Because the goal, obviously, for all of us is to have as few blank spaces as possible. And now click on February. Yeah, I have my weekend pattern right now.
Oh, so that is optimized.
Yeah, so you can see here that the fewer, in February especially, the fewer yellow spaces as possible is what we all go for. And that we find that the way to get that is to really let the grid, the availability grid, do all the work for us. So
what is auto optimization? If you can just explain what that is. Obviously, I know what it is.
So basically, when a reservation comes in, the grid will put that reservation into the spot where it creates the best possible, back-to-back occupancy. So, and as more reservations continue to be made, the grid will move those reservations around where to continue to create the best possible, highest occupancy you can get.
Wow.
And that is, that's huge for us, because here in the Southwest, our season is so short that we need to make the most of it while we can. Now, we don't assign sites, and I know for a lot of people that can freak them out. I have a couple of resorts who I'm still working on. Trust the grid. It knows what it's doing. They want to, a reservation comes in and they want to assign the site right away, and how I explain it to people, or even my staff, I say, here's how we work it. It's the same adage of your calendar, right? Here's a glass jar, right? The one that's used by Stephen Covey, I think it was. You have a big glass jar, and if you're going to fill that big glass jar, the first thing you want to put in are the big things, right? So put in the big rocks. And by big rocks, what I mean for the availability grid is long-term reservations. So if I have someone who's staying 30 days or longer, they get to choose their site location. So they're a big rock, right? I'm going to lock them into where they're going to be. Then I have a bunch of little rocks, right? Those little rocks are, the people who are here for a day, a week, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, anything, you know, where it's not long term. And those people I leave unassigned, floating around on the grid until the night before they get here. Because the grid manages where to put them to best optimize my occupancy based on all the big rocks that I have in there, right?
Do they still have the same type?
Yes, they still have the same type. They just move around within the type. I mean, for example, in this particular thing, and that's what I tell people. I will guarantee you when you make a reservation for an A grass that you get an A grass, right? Or a B grass. I don't know which one. You can certainly give me a request. I'll put a request in your reservation and I'll do the best I can at the time you get here to fulfill that request. But I can't guarantee a particular site unless you're here for 30 days or longer.
But how did that go down when you first introduced it? Did it go down well?
There are some people who, you know, say, oh, I really, really want that site location. And I say, well, you know, that's how it works for us in the wintertime. I'll get you an A grass or better, because sometimes for inventory purposes, I do have to upgrade people. And I will upgrade people at no cost to a better site, but it will be at least to the one they booked or better.
Yeah.
And there are some people who, you know, who don't particularly like it, and they end up in the part of the resort they don't really like to be in, and it's what I have. So it's you know, and I think if as long as they know ahead of time that it's not a guarantee, you know, I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to get site 5. I'll put in your reservation that you request that. Go ahead.
Now, what did this do to your revenue, though, once you started to implement this? Because this is very much like the hotel model, and obviously they know how to really wring out the revenue with different functions that a hotel system has typically. What did this do for your revenue?
Well, for us, we had, at my resort, I always used this model. So I don't really know, like I don't have a time that I wasn't and then I was, so I didn't see the difference. When I really got to see the difference was at our other resort, Wine Ridge. They weren't allowing the system to optimize. And they were having to turn down reservations. You know, and they'd look on the grid, and I mean, if you look on the grid, you know, the one that's displayed right now, on February 17th, if you look at site 10, that's a B Deluxe patio grass, right? And it's available the 15th to the 17th. And then if you look 2 down on the 18th, there's also a B Deluxe grass available on the 18th. Well, all these people are already locked in, but if I didn't have those locked in, the availability would tell me that I have a B Deluxe grass available the 15th to the 18th, checking out on the 19th, right?
Yeah.
And so it would move it around. It would move every reservation I have to get that new reservation in where it belongs. And so, you know, I introduced this concept to our resort outside of Las Vegas, and then they moved to that model where they don't assign the site location until the night before. And it was specifically with their cottage occupancy, and they went from being able to, at the same busy time, they could only book up to about 80% when they were assigning ahead of time and guaranteeing people a particular site.
Yeah.
Once they moved to letting the grid do its optimization, they easily are now between 97 and 99 during their high season all the time.
That's like a 17% swing.
Yeah, because humans can't figure it out. It's a very complex puzzle. And for a human to try to figure it out, which of course back in the old RV days, I mean, that's what they had to do because they didn't have a choice. But we have a choice. You know, let the technology do the work for you. Trust the technology. Now, there are times, and I have had this situation, and it's sometimes hard for people to get their head around, but what we get is a booking conflict. For example, that example I showed you where we have the 15th to the 19th available, but for this particular example, it's not available in the same site location.
Yeah.
The system will still let you book that,
Yeah.
even though it's not the same site.
Yeah.
Right? Which then you get a conflict, because then it's like, well, I don't have anywhere to put these people where they can be in the same site the whole time. And at first, that was a little scary for some of our staff, because then, they felt like, oh my gosh, now what are we going to do? But what I found over time is that most of the conflicts resolve themselves, because someone cancels, someone changes to a different site, they come in and they want to pull through instead of the one they're on, and you're able to move them. So I've found that 90% of my conflicts resolve themselves.
Yeah, and I can tell you what we found as well is that everybody knows the sort of times of the year this may happen, because it's going to be around a very busy time when you're 100% booked.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll just manage that one time, or probably 2 or 3 times a year. They'll look across those 4 or 5 days, and they'll just block one site.
Right.
So they've always got one site free. So they put a pencil
and that's
in
exactly what I do.
Yeah, and then it just deals with itself.
Yeah.
And like
and
I do that for the whole
do
year.
During those busy times, like February, I hold out. I think I start with about 7 or 8 held out. Like 1 or 2 of each type, because I have so many different types. And and what it allowed me this year, this season was the first time I did that. Prior to that, I was kind of doing it on the fly, but this year I did it, like before the season even started booking. I'm going to hold these all back. Yeah. And so now what I found this year is A, that I'm able to resolve any conflict that comes up fairly easily, and B, I'm able to fit those people in who come during busy season. They've never been to the resort before. They come and they stay, they have a reservation for like 2 days. And then they come and they say, wow, this place is really neat. Can we extend for a week?
Yes.
Now, prior to holding back that inventory in the inventory allocation tool, I was never able to accommodate those people.
Yeah.
Because I had someone else who was reserved for that site location. But this year, I was able to accommodate those people. And it was really great, because those are the kind of people that you want to cultivate. You want to make the people happy who are here for the first time and have found that they really like it and they want to stay. You want to be able to say, sure, I'm able to accommodate you. Now, sometimes they had to move to a different site type because I didn't have their particular site type open. But most of the time they were happy to do that because they really liked it and they wanted to stay. So holding back that inventory, like if you look just in a grass at February 2018, you'll have to change the calendar tool to look far ahead. You have to go way ahead. So go up to the calendar. You're going to have to go to 2018. You're going to have to hit next.
2018?
2018, yeah. I already have next season's held back because...
Oh, no, I don't blame you, because this is the way to do it.
Because I know what happens.
To online as well.
I know what happens in February. It's
February.
Yeah, February. I know what happens. That's and I want to cultivate those new customers that are here for the first time. See, I got 2 all the way across the board. And there are days that there's only 1 site left.
Yeah.
Right?
But for anybody that's watching, we created this little interface to make it easy for you to manage your inventory. So you can put a block on, basically, of 2. Then you don't have to do anything else. It just manages it. And then you always have that little bit.
And then as I want to release it, as it gets closer, I release it.
Yeah.
And then I manage it, 1 day at a time. The other thing I use this tool for is special events, because if you click on October 2017, we have a special event here that comes in October, and we're not sure, they haven't. See where I held back everything.
Yeah.
because we're not clear about when I know it's going to be on those dates. However, they haven't released it and said they're going to do it or not yet, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to, because last year this is what happened to me during this event, is I had everything out there on the internet to book at my whatever my rates were for that time of the month, which were like $25 a night. And
Yeah.
then they announced this special event. Well, I had like a massive amount of people just go online and make reservations at $25 a night, when for that special event weekend we really charged $135.
Wow.
Right. So
But
then I had
because
to
they
go
hadn't
back.
told you.
I had to go back
Yeah.
to those $25 people and say, you know what, you made a reservation prior to that event being announced. And so unfortunately, you know, that's not our price. This is what our price is. And that was a little challenging.
Of course.
Because then they were like, well, you had it out there and I was able to book it, and you need to, you know, honor that contract and honor that experience. And I said, well, sorry, that's not the way. That's not how it
Yeah.
goes. And so this year, rather than wait for them, because they still haven't made the announcement for this October event, I just said, forget it. I'm just going to block it all. I'm going to look sold out, and I'm going to wait till they announce. And that way I can put it out at the rates I want to put it out. And,
Yeah.
you know, then get the bookings.
Yeah. If I went
So
to next year, was it February? February 20,
when the special event is,
2019.
or just regular?
Yeah. Special event.
October 2017.
So
The first weekend, like October 6th. Yeah, and so it'll look sold out. And people have called and said, are you really sold out? Because they're, you know, thinking it's going to happen as well, this special event. And and I said, well, no, at this point we're just, you know, holding back our inventory until the event is announced. Once the event is announced, then it will be available for you to make a reservation online.
And all you got to do is go in here and put on 0. You would have set your rates up because
That's right.
it's a special event and people will pay. And then, that makes a lot of sense.
And then I'm on the internet, I'm ready to go. So there's a lot of different ways. Of course, the other thing that makes holding back inventory during busy time really important is when you have an issue, like if the water, you know, breaks in a site, or the electric doesn't work, or whatever. If you don't have any inventory held back and you're full, you got nowhere to put these people.
Yeah. Well, I remember in the hotel industry, you only manage your really busy times. The rest you just let float.
Exactly.
Care. But it's the busy time, you know, Christmas and Easter and those, and it's only a week. You just look at that week and you just manage it. The rest, let it float.
And of course, the other way to manage your inventory to maximize revenue is if you do have special events or you do have a particular pattern of reservation. Like if you are, because we have 2 resorts that get very busy in the north-south commute between the eastern states and Florida, right?
Yeah.
Because they're right off the I-95 corridor. They get very busy during that time. So for them, you know, creating opportunity is to set minimum and maximum stays. You know, that also maximizes revenue.
Which resorts are those?
Fayetteville and Raleigh and AmeriCamps. AmeriCamps especially. Because they literally, if you stand in their front office, you can see the highway.
Wow.
I mean, it's like right there.
Yeah.
So you can see they're heavily patterned for the one night.
Yeah.
The 1-2 night. That's their deal. And right now, it's the big northern commute, and they're really busy in March and April from that.
Yeah.
These people going up and down.
How do you manage this? You manage this with minimum night stays?
They don't do any minimum. The only times they have min and maximum is they're right near Richmond, and Richmond has a big NASCAR race 2 times a year in April. And you'll see it there in April, the 27th, in April and in September. And during those weeks, they have min-max stays. During my special events, I have minimum and maximum stays. At the resorts back east, Twin Grove and North Landing, every weekend has a minimum and maximum stay. So every weekend you have to stay 2 nights. Every holiday you have to stay 3. So
if I try to book, let me have a look. Oh, I can see it's sold out for that weekend anyway.
Yeah, I think that's NASCAR
one.
weekend.
That's NASCAR.
No, that one's
that's the
NASCAR weekend. 28 to 30 is NASCAR.
And then you don't have.
But here at AmeriCamps, you could book a 1 night anytime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, except for those NASCAR weekends, they keep a one night. But if you go to 70000, 700,000.
Oh, this is North London, yeah. Yeah, this is the one with the map. Which dates do you have?
So, any weekend in after Memorial Day. So,
if we went to, I don't know,
so
November?
No. Go to June.
The 10th. So if I put in 1 night and try to make a reservation.
Yeah, you have to pick a weekend. Is the 10th a weekend?
Oh.
Yeah, and you have to pick a unit.
Is the 10th a weekend? I think it is.
I don't know if the 10th is a weekend or not. Let's see.
Find out. 10th is a Saturday.
Yeah, the 10th is a Saturday.
Yeah, that's what.
So if you pick an available unit, pick one of the green ones. There's not many in that section, but and put 2 adults. It'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, let you book online.
Can't do it.
Minimum stay requirement is 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So
right, that saves a lot of talking over the phone on the front desk.
Yes, it does. And, because we do, especially at this resort in Virginia Beach, because it's only really now coming into its 2nd season, the previous clientele prior to us purchasing it, and this is always a little challenging in a transition when you buy a new place or, you're trying to change your business model a little bit. They were very last-minute bookers. Like, literally, they'd call, "We're on our way. Do you have a site open?"
Wow.
And, of course, they always would, back with the old ownership. And, do you have a site open? And Memorial Day's pretty booked up there, see? So do you have a site open? And I only want to stay tonight.
Yeah.
Well, the first season after we bought it, when we were doing construction, we let that happen. But now that's not going to happen. And at this point, I want to say about 85 to 90% booked for Memorial Day.